Yo, you guys remember how last year and also in my most recent video I hit 1 million kills in Quake? Well, I was actually holding that number at exactly 1 million for over 6 months. And now I lost it because of a bug. So, thanks Hypixel. And since I lost my nice 1 million that I've had for the last 6 months, I guess I might as well just hop into a game and play some more. To be honest, I wasn't really intending to keep it there that long, but I just got really busy with IRL things, other games, and also the 1 million just looked so nice. That's not to say that I didn't play the game at all. Every once in a while I did hop on an alt, and every once in a while I would actually hop on my main and play like about half the game and then leave before it ended. Because I've mentioned on the channel a few times before, there's this long running weird kind of like feature in the game where if you leave a game before it ends, then almost all of the stats just get negated as if it never happened. So any like kills, deaths, shots fired, etc. all just vanish into thin air. If I remember correctly, the only stats that do save are godlikes and highest kill streak. Anyway, so a little bit ago, I decided to hop into a teams game just to kind of mess around, and I ended up getting a godlike. I was like, oh, cool, might as well leave, and then that way it'll save and nothing else. And as it turns out, I was the very first person to find out that they patched this long-standing bug that's been in the game since like, I don't even know how long. Yeah, so I no longer have 1 million Quake kills. And I apologize if I end up being rusty. Anyways, I'm recording this a few days after the fact that it initially happened, and eventually they did in fact come out with a like proper forum post with a bunch of server bugs that they fixed all across the network in multiple different games. And of course, Quakecraft actually had 3 bugs listed, and at the bottom you'll see it says that it fixed stats not saving correctly for players who disconnect. Although it does kind of suck that I lost the thing that I was intentionally trying to preserve with literally 0 warning whatsoever, because they didn't announce this until days after the fact. Overall, not too worried about it. For one thing, this actually like opens up my ability to play the game again, because I hadn't been for just such a long time. If you're wondering, yes, I will be playing again now. Not nearly as much as I used to, like probably way significantly less in fact, but every once in a while I will still hop on because I do still really love this game. But like I was saying, I'm actually overall pretty happy about this fix for 2 main reasons. The first reason is just because, you know, it makes way more logical sense, and it's super helpful for like players who have weird internet. A good friend of mine who plays a lot of Quake teams plays a really terrible ping, and I know that she gets disconnected a lot. If this had been implemented earlier, she'd probably have a lot more kills. Another reason for this is that the fact that you could leave games before actually came with like a lot of people who mained the game sort of abusing this fact to try to give themselves like perfect stats. Because basically, if you ever saw that you're about to like lose a game, you could just leave it, and then it's like you never lost at all, so you could have a perfect win-loss ratio. Not that losses are tracked in Quake, it's like one of the few, if not the only game that doesn't track losses or games played, but that's kind of to be expected considering when the game first released, it didn't even track wins until like months later. Also, one thing to note about how the system worked before this bug fix was that although the stats didn't save to your stats, that was a weird sentence, but it would save to your like AP trackers. So for example, there's, you know, a tiered achievement to get 100,000 kills, there's a tiered AP to get 2,000 wins, those kind of things it did count for. So a lot of players would end up with like a lot more kills in their AP compared to their overall, which led to them being able to, you know, unlock things faster or like earlier than they were supposed to. So this update again is good for that, because in theory from this point forward, you know, there shouldn't be that weird sort of discrepancy between the 2 kill counts. I think I actually made like a short on that just as a joke a long time ago. The funny thing about this bug is that for some reason, if you leave a teams game, you will now, you know, get the kills and the win to your stats, but the win will no longer go to your AP. So they like somehow reversed it. So I don't know if that was intentional to try to prevent people from just boosting wins to get the achievement or something, or if it was an accident. I don't know. Either way seems pretty much equally likely, because there's all sorts of really weird mechanics in Quake that are probably not intentional at all. But it is something that I would probably like to see fixed, because again, I think it's really weird to have a discrepancy between your win count on one place you look versus the win count you look in another place. Like it should be the same number. The only exception to that really is like kills and wins from the 2 Quake tournaments. Anyways, the next bug fix that they listed for Quake is that they fixed the game ending in a draw if all enemies leave, which in theory is pretty great, because honestly there's nothing more annoying than starting a really low player count game, and it takes quite a long time to find 4 players on such a big map like that. So, you know, you're 5 minutes into the game, you're on 20 kills, everybody's left except for the last guy, you get to 24 kills and he leaves and it ends in a draw. You're like, okay, well, Anyways, thanks to this new bug fix, that is not at all fixed, actually. The exact same thing still happens. This only affects teams mode for some reason. Again, really not sure if that was like intentional or not. I can't imagine this one would be intentional. It doesn't make any sense to me that it's only a teams mode feature. Glad that they're making an effort to fix it. The only problem to me is that there's no minimum of kills that you have to get before it counts as a win. For example, a teams game could start, the entire other team could get warped out as a party, and within 5 seconds you've just got a win, which seems easily abusable. Also, funny thing about getting a win for the entire team leaving, this also actually counts towards the get a win in under a minute achievement, which is sort of considered one of the harder ones for new players and is actually one of the requirements for unlocking the 0.85 trigger and stuff. So if you're an AP hunter who's looking for like a super easy AP to get really quick, just play a few teams games because it's happened to me multiple times. It's more common than you think. I do hope that they kind of patch that in some way, but I also kind of doubt that they will, so there you go. And speaking of patches, I definitely think it would be a better idea if they added some sort of like minimum kill requirement. Say for example, you have to be at least halfway to a win, so your team has to have at least 50 kills for it to count as a win. In my eyes, that seems fair, because that way you can't just like instantly, you know, boost and farm wins by having people leave the game immediately over and over. And it also just, you know, seems more like a win to me. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining myself super well there, but it just makes more sense in my eyes. An alternative to that would be that the game has to go on for a minimum amount of time. For example, the game has to have gone on for at least a minute. This would prevent you from just instantly getting a win, like basically right after the game starts. That would also prevent the sort of exploit I was talking about earlier, where you can get the win in under a minute achievement. Either way, that would be great, and I 100% hope that this gets implemented into solo in the future as well. Again, with the same sort of requirements, like say you need either, I don't know, 10 kills at minimum in solo or something like that. And the final fix that they've listed here is, it says that they fixed being able to shoot while dead / respawning. This one actually works properly. Let's go. This one annoyed me a lot. There's actually a bug exclusive to having instant respawn disabled. If you don't know, in the shop, there's actually a toggle that you can switch on or off where you can actually make it so the death screen pops up every single time you die, which is horrible. If you have this on and you don't know you can disable it, go disable it right now in the shop. Super easy to do. I can promise you I would have quit the game so long ago if I had to sit there for 3 seconds and stare at a death screen every single time I died in this game. Like, it's ridiculous. Anyways, getting back on topic, if you had instant respawn disabled, so you had the death screen, it was actually still possible to shoot while you were in this like dead state, which was really annoying because a lot of the times, you know, I would kill somebody and if they happened to be facing me, then they could just kill me back after they were already dead. So we'd end up like trading kills, which you know, it's not a huge deal, but it was annoying because you could get shut down really easily. In teams mode especially, because you know, in solos, the could be facing whatever direction. In teams mode, you guys are often facing directly at your enemy, and it just kind of sucked if you were like on a high kill streak or close to a godlike or something, and you kill a person, and then because of this bug, you would just die, lose whatever kill streak you're on, etc. Also, a funny kind of side effect is that you could pair this with having rapid fire. So if you had rapid fire, then died, you would just continue to keep rapid firing, like for about 3 or 4 seconds after you died, it would just keep spawning like out from where you died, basically making like a little impassable wall, which was kind of funny. Glad that one got fixed. No problems there. It's just 2 out of the 3 bug fixes that kind of didn't really fix the bug that well. Could be worse. Overall though, I am really glad that they took the time to fix these 3 bugs. A lot more bugs out there. I could make an entire video talking about bugs. These are a good start. I would love it if they fixed leaving games thing not counting towards the AP now, because that seems weird. And I would love it if game ending in a draw worked in solos, because that, to me, that is like the definitive version of Quakecraft. And then teams mode, I mean, it came years after the original. A couple other things that I actually noticed that were not listed on this, but I did notice get fixed since I quit playing the game back in around December. First of all, they changed how the leaderboards work. So now when you join a lobby, by default, it's set to weekly instead of lifetime. I'm not necessarily opposed to this change. I think that it has both good and bad things about it. I've seen some discussion of it both on Discord, on the forums, etc., that a lot of people said they like it because, you know, it sort of showcases the more active player base of the community. That makes sense to me. Sure, why not? And in a way, it sort of makes it a little bit more prestigious. Like, if you happen to get on the weekly leaderboard, it makes it a little bit more exciting because anybody who joins the lobby is like way more likely to see you on the leaderboard as opposed to them going out of their way to flip through it to weekly, whatever. Now, if I had to pick a personal preference, I actually liked it the old way where it showed the lifetime by default. And I promise I'm not just saying that because I'm on it. 0% bias, honestly, truly. And the reason that I preferred the old way is because to me, the purpose of a leaderboard is to sort of show off, you know, the most dedicated players, like the ones who put in the most commitment and time to the game so that they could end up on this leaderboard. It's a pretty big accomplishment, all things considered. Like a lot of these game modes, it's not easy to get onto them. And now it's just kind of been like obscured. Like when you join a lobby, you can't even see the leaderboards, all the top players. That's my take on it. Like I said, I preferred the way it was before where it showed lifetime, but I don't really care that much. Honestly, I'm fine with it either way. And another change that they actually made like globally across all game modes is they moved this little network booster message after the game starts to send like, I think it's like 10 seconds or something after the game starts now. It used to activate immediately right when the game started, which in my eyes was bad and kind of annoying because that's also when the little game explanation text pops up, is right after the game starts. So the game explanation would show up and then like less than a frame later, the booster message would show up and then shove the explanation message off of your screen. So it completely obscured it. A lot of people probably didn't even know there was an explanation message because that little booster message just showed up right after. So now it does give you a bit of time to read that text after the game starts, which is, you know, nice. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't know why they don't put this explanation text in the chat right when you join the game, in the pregame, so you can sit there and read it during the pregame instead of trying to like panic when the game starts. You're like, oh my god, what do I do? Let me just sit here and read this text even though the game's already started and I've died like 3 times. It just makes no sense to me that they do that. It actually already functions like this in certain games, such as like I think TNT and arcade games. It pops up as soon as you join the game mode, but other games like Quake, obviously, Skywars, etc., it pops up after the game. I really do think that it should pop up before the game, like right when you join the pregame in every single game mode, not just Quake. And that way it's just a lot more coherent and consistent all the way across the network. It's kind of weird that it works both ways depending on what game you're in. And it makes way more sense for it to be in the pregame because that would probably cut down on the amount of nons who ask every single day, how do I play this game? What is this? Please let me know with a comment whether you like agree, disagree with anything I've said. This is actually kind of old news because I'm having to re-record this. I'll be blunt, it's months after I already lost 1 million kills, but I've been busy. I'm back in school now again. In all seriousness though, if you did enjoy, subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.